have you ever stopped to think about who the secret guardians of the kingdom of God are? Those beings who watch over and protect not only creation but the heavenly kingdom itself. Many people imagine angels as serene figures, but there are powerful angels with a mission far beyond what we can imagine. These guardians are part of a secret and celestial structure tasked with protecting God's plans. Let's discover who these celestial guardians are and what their role is in the grand scheme of the creation and protection of the kingdom of God. The story of the celestial guardians begins before the creation of man, in a time when the kingdom of God was the absolute center of all existence. God, in His infinite wisdom, knew that His kingdom would require special protection, not only against external threats but also against spiritual corruption. Thus, He created a specific order of angels whose mission would be to protect the most secret heart of His kingdom. These angels were not created merely as messengers but as warriors, true guardians of what is most sacred. The creation of the guardians was not an isolated event. They were shaped with special characteristics, such as unshakable loyalty and a strength that exceeds human understanding. Unlike other angels, their direct connection with the throne of God made them immune to temptation and fall, as happened with Lucifer. The Bible itself does not directly detail all aspects of the creation of these beings, but there are indications that they were made to serve at a higher level of hierarchy, protecting God's secrets. These guardians have an origin shrouded in mystery. Some scholars believe that they were formed alongside angels like Michael and Gabriel, who have leadership roles in the celestial army. The crucial difference is that while angels like Michael are directly involved in visible spiritual battles, the celestial guardians work behind the scenes, protecting what can never be revealed to mortal eyes. Although their activities remain mostly invisible to us, the celestial guardians are mentioned indirectly in various scriptures. They are representations of divine justice and, unlike other angels, rarely appear to men. Their creation was an act of divine preparation to ensure that evil would never touch God's secret kingdom. This origin places the guardians in a unique position as tireless and ever-vigilant defenders of the eternal plan. The celestial guardians were not created merely to passively watch over the kingdom of God. Their mission is active, continuous, and involves much more than simple physical protection. They are responsible for maintaining the order and sanctity of God's secret kingdom, ensuring that nothing corrupts divine plans. The function of these angels transcends the material plane, touching primarily the spiritual plane, where the battle between good and evil is fought daily. These angels have a direct connection with God's eternal purpose. Their mission is to protect what must never be touched by impure hands, whether human or spiritual. Besides combating evil forces that might attempt to penetrate the celestial kingdom, the guardians ensure that divine secrets remain inviolate. They do not act alone but in perfect harmony with other angels and angelic hierarchies, ensuring that every part of the divine plan functions flawlessly. Their role goes beyond simple protection. They are also responsible for intervening in decisive moments of history when the kingdom of God needs to be defended with extraordinary force. It's interesting to think that while we are focused on what happens around us, there's an invisible war being waged, and the celestial guardians are at the forefront of this battle. They act with wisdom, strength, and authority, but always within the limits established by God. These guardians never openly reveal themselves to men. Their actions are silent but powerful, and we often feel their effects without even realizing it. While other angelic orders may manifest directly to God's people, the guardians work behind the scenes, preserving the cosmic balance. They are the protectors of what we cannot yet fully comprehend. When we search the Bible for examples of angelic protection, We often encounter powerful accounts of angels like Michael, who fought against the dragon in Revelation 12 verse 7, or Gabriel, who brought important messages directly from God. However, there are indications, albeit subtle, of the presence of these guardians who protect God's secret kingdom. They do not appear much in the direct narrative, but their actions are suggested at key moments. In Daniel 10 verse 13, for example, we read about a spiritual battle between the prince of Persia and Michael, one of the chief princes. Although the text does not directly mention the celestial guardians, it is in this type of spiritual combat scenario that they operate, protecting not only the kingdom of God but also the transmission of His orders and designs to messengers. These accounts help us understand that there's a much larger network of spiritual protection than we can perceive at first glance. Furthermore, in Ezekiel 28 verse 14, when speaking about the cherub who was placed to guard Eden, we have one of the first mentions of an angelic guardian. Although this angel failed by becoming corrupted, the idea of angels as guardians is clear. These accounts show us that the concept of angelic protection is ancient and that since creation, God has always designated beings to protect His most sacred domains. In Matthew 18 verse 10, Jesus mentions the angels who continually see the face of God, showing that there is an angelic order that is always in proximity to the divine throne. Many scholars interpret this passage as a reference to the guardians, who have a direct connection with God, keeping His presence safe and protected. These angels play a crucial role in the divine plan, even when we are not aware of their action. These accounts show us that the presence of these guardians goes beyond what our eyes can see. Their mission to protect is continuous and constant, and they remain faithful to the purpose for which they were created, from the most remote times to the present day. By the way, if you're enjoying this content and want to follow more about the mystery of angels and the kingdom of God, take this moment to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and activate notifications. That way, you continue receiving these reflections as we proceed on our journey. Within the vast kingdom of God, not all angels are the same. They are organized into different hierarchies, each with specific responsibilities and functions. The celestial guardians occupy a special place in this structure, being close to the most powerful and respected angels, such as the archangels. The Bible mentions different orders of angels, such as seraphim, cherubim, and thrones, each playing an essential role in celestial governance. The guardians, in turn, are part of this complex organization but with a particular mission, the direct protection of God's secret kingdom. They are comparable to the most well-prepared sentinels, ready to defend the sacred sanctuary from any threat. While archangels like Michael and Gabriel deal directly with spiritual battles and divine messages, the guardians are those who watch over the deepest secrets, acting invisibly, never appearing directly to man. Within this hierarchy, the guardians have access to knowledge that other angels do not possess. They protect divine mysteries, and it is said that they are directly linked to God's will. Although we might think their function is simply protection, it goes beyond that, as they preserve divine order in areas that humanity cannot even imagine. They are always attentive, never taking their eyes off what they must protect. This angelic organization is very well structured. God, in His perfection, established this hierarchy to ensure that all His purposes are fulfilled with precision. Each angel has its place and purpose, but the celestial guardians are those who keep the kingdom safe, away from curious eyes, preserving the purity and sanctity of divine secrets. These guardians perform their role with absolute discretion but are fundamental in keeping the kingdom of God intact. Although we do not see them, their actions influence both the spiritual and physical worlds in ways we cannot even begin to comprehend. Thus, they ensure that the divine plan continues to unfold according to God's desire, without interference. Although the celestial guardians are tasked with the protection of God's secret kingdom, their influence also touches the world of men in subtle and, most often, invisible ways. They do not manifest like God's messengers, who bring revelations and announcements directly to human beings. Instead, their interactions happen behind the scenes, on a level that few people can perceive. On various occasions, when moments of great spiritual crisis arise, we can imagine that the guardians are in action, protecting humanity from threats we do not even know exist. These interventions are not for us to see or understand but to maintain the balance between the material and spiritual worlds, ensuring that the kingdom of God remains inviolate and protected. The Bible, although not directly mentioning these interactions, gives us hints that angels are constantly involved in protecting God's people. Psalm 91 verse 11. It is believed that the guardians do not directly interfere with human choices. Free will remains intact, as it is part of God's plan for humanity. However, they can act to prevent evil spiritual forces from causing harm to the divine plan. When dark forces rise against God's people or the kingdom itself, the guardians are ready to act. They do this without being seen, without appearing in visions or dreams, but their effects can be felt, especially in moments of inexplicable deliverance. These angels can often be behind protections that seem supernatural. Situations where dangers are unexpectedly avoided, or where people are spared in critical situations, may well have the protective hand of these guardians. Although we do not have the ability to see their actions, their presence is constant and unshakable. Thus, the celestial guardians maintain an invisible bridge between the kingdom of God and the world of men. They are the silent protectors, acting with divine wisdom, always ensuring that the kingdom of God remains untouched while preserving God's plans for humanity. As we approach the events described in Revelation, the role of the celestial guardians becomes even more crucial. The Bible reports that there will be a final battle between good and evil, where the forces of evil will try to destroy God's plan. And it is precisely in this context that the guardians are prepared to play a vital role. Although they are not explicitly mentioned in Revelation, many scholars believe that they will be at the forefront of the defense of the kingdom of God. In Revelation 12 verses 7 and 9, we see the battle led by Michael against the dragon, who is identified as Satan. Although Michael and his angels are the main characters of the narrative, it is almost certain that the celestial guardians are acting behind the scenes, protecting the kingdom of God while the war takes place. These angels are the last line of defense, ensuring that even amid the chaos of the end times, God's secret kingdom remains safe. During the end times, many revelations will be made, and God's plan will finally be fully understood. But even when everything seems to be collapsing, the guardians will remain vigilant. They will ensure that God's promises are fulfilled, protecting secrets that cannot yet be revealed and ensuring that evil never touches the most sacred parts of the kingdom of God. Revelation also speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, where God will finally establish his kingdom visibly and eternally. In this scenario, the guardians will no longer have to act in secret, for the kingdom itself will be completely revealed to the faithful. However, until that moment comes, they remain in their roles, protecting and defending the kingdom of God from any spiritual attack. This perspective of the end times reminds us that even when the world seems out of control, the celestial guardians are working to ensure that God's plan remains unshaken. And although we do not know exactly how everything will unfold, we can trust that the kingdom of God is safe in the hands of these powerful guardians. We've reached the end of this incredible journey about the celestial guardians. but the reflection is just beginning. Throughout this discussion, we've seen how these powerful angels were created with the mission of protecting God's secret kingdom, ensuring that nothing and no one could corrupt divine plans. They are not just distant observers but active forces that intervene in the spiritual world, often without us even realizing it. Thinking about the existence of these invisible guardians leads us to reflect on how God, in His perfection, takes care of every detail of His kingdom and also of us. Even when we face difficulties and do not understand why certain things happen, we can trust that there are powerful forces acting in favor of good, ensuring that evil never has the final victory. So, how can we apply this in our lives? First, remember that you are never alone, even in the toughest battles. Knowing that there is divine protection, even invisible, gives us courage to face challenges with confidence. It also calls us to trust more in God's plan, knowing that His promises are protected and that, in due time, everything will be revealed. Finally, I want to thank you for following this study up to this point. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. Leave your like, activate notifications, and share this video with those who also want to learn more about God's mysteries. This helps us continue producing content like this and allows more people to discover the wonders of divine protection. Now tell me, have you ever felt protected from something unexplainable? Comment below your experiences and thoughts about what we've discussed today. Let's continue this conversation together.